169 then. 18 overs with the score at 127. Then 42 of the last two. Jos Buttler, 70 not out after being dropped twice in the 7th over when he was on 10 and 11. How dearly will that cost Bangalore? How happy would the Rajasthan Royals be? All that and more as we look back at an intriguing, compelling 20 overs of cricket at the Wankhede Stadium on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by IQ 95G. Carlos Brathwaite in just a moment. Before that, Ravi Shastri. Jos Buttler says as he goes in to change and wear the keeping pads on that we're in the game. Are they?
Absolutely. It wasn't all sugar there. It wasn't easy at all, and the ball stuck into the surface. We mentioned about Wankhede, depending how much it's watered. There was swing there, there was seam there. It wasn't easy. So I thought the tactics in that first 6 overs, very good to lose only 1 wicket. They would have discussed things and they would have said, maybe 150. Let's target 150. Anything more than that is a bonus. So batting first, it doesn't mean you'll win the game.
Yes.
Getting this 169. But if you had looked for 175, 180 from the outset, this could be 110, 120 job. So, I thought tactically they were good. They had their share of luck. You mentioned a couple of drop catches, and you don't leave Buttler when he's really in this kind of form because, it's just 10 balls that can make the difference. So one stage it looked 145, 150, suddenly 170.
Yep.
And that's a very much in the game. He's right.
Now, before I get Carlos, I want Ravi, who knows the Wankhede Stadium better than anybody and that surface, to just try and break down that pitch talk for the novices, right? And for people like us, he says it's soft. He says it was sort of seam was sticking into it. So just make sense of that. Why is it hard to bat?
That's exactly what I said. It wasn't easy at all because then there's no pace. It's too pace. You can't line up. You're not sure at what pace the ball is coming. And how much it's going to swing, how much it's going to seam. So and yet at the same time, it's a 20-over game, and you got to get on with it. So, it can be frustrating, like you said, at times. Yeah. I wanted to get on with it. I couldn't. They bowled well. I thought, the RCB guys bowled really well in the middle. Harshal Patel, Hasaranga, to an extent, Siraj till that last over. And they didn't make it easy. So, the fact that he hung in there against his nature, where he would have wanted to just go. Sometimes you got to dig deep and say, one hit and then probably the rhythm will come back, and it came back. And suddenly there were 4 sixes from Buttler. And Hetmeyer does his job. He gets it, anything in the middle of the bat, with that swing, it'll go a mile. So great finish and a job on their hands for RCB.
Fascinating inside. That Jos Buttler also saying he seems very pleased with that. He says we're in the game. Let's get Carlos Brathwaite's thoughts as well. Looked like it was hard work to bat, Carlos, from overs 1 to 18 and then suddenly 42 of the last 2. What did you make of that innings?
I think that's why Jos Buttler is one of the best in the world. He has the ability to play that, we call it anchor. I don't think that is applicable anymore. All batsmen now can up the tempo, but the way that he shows his batsmanship earlier to see off the new ball while still trying to play strokes, and then to decimate the bowling at the back end the way that he did, sensational stuff. And a lot of times you will see the 71 off 30s be the ones that get the highlights, and the 50 off 20 and that sort of stuff. But when you have someone going at, I think he was 40 off 39 or something like that, and then could just motor along the way that he did in the last 2 overs. Those last 2 overs cost, I think, 30 or 42.
42, yes.
42. That could break the game open. And in the grand scheme of things, we'll just look at Hetmeyer and see 40. We'll just look at Buttler and see 60 odd. But in the context of the game, the way that they linked the innings together, had a good partnership together, and then capitalizing the last 2 overs was sensational. He mentioned after the last game, but one thing, that one over came in the 19th over, but it shows the class of the man that he could have been batting in the 19th over, albeit with a bit of luck. But I think he showed a lot of skill and a lot of batsmanship in that innings.
Yeah. Now those last 2 overs, very curious to hear what both Ravi and Carlos have to make of what changed. How did Buttler suddenly find the middle of the bat? What's he done there that's different, Ravi?
I think he just went deeper in the crease. He realized that this pitch is still too paced. He also realized maybe with the dew, increasing, that the ball is coming onto the bat, and he and he sacked back. And so even if they dug it in short, try to slow the pace with the tennis ball sort of bounce, if it sits up, he has a better chance of the back foot. And if they pitch it up from there, he stays where he is and just swings through the line. So he straight deep in the crease, and he got those 4 sixes for that. Yeah.
Nobody knows 4 sixes more than Carlos Brathwaite. No. Carlos, let's extend on Ravi's point, shall we? Is that the kind of thing you get more confident of doing once you've got your eye in and know what the pace of the pitch is? Or could that have been something that you could do from the get-go? If going deep in your creases, maybe letting you hit the ball harder. What did you make of that slight shift from Jos Buttler?
I think it's the situational game as well. If it's the 10th, 11th over, you're not going to go hell for leather unless you're chasing 200 to 10. So he got into a similar position, but once the ball wasn't quite there or didn't react off the pitch the way he wanted it to, he was happy to then, play a shot that would probably get a single, hit the sweeper, maybe get a 2. Once it's the 19th and 20th over, you got wickets in the shed. He could go hell for leather. He can try to hit a 6, even if it bottom edges and he gets caught. But I think it was more the situation of the game. 12 balls to go. We got, 7 wickets in hand. Let's get as much as we can get. You can tell how difficult the pitch was. He hit 6 sixes and no 4s. So it wasn't pure stroke play. It wasn't beating the gap, beating the infield, or splitting the sweepers. It was, if I get into a good area, I'm going to try to hit the ball as hard as possible. If that means that it's only one to the sweeper, then Hetmeyer gets a go. And if I can get it out to the middle, it's gone for 6. And a couple of them, he didn't even get close to the middle, but the power and the timing of the man allowed it to go over the boundary for 6.
Just one thing on the RCB bowlers in those last 2 overs, Carlos. When you sit back or stand as deep in your crease, is there one ball you're hoping the bowler doesn't bowl? I guess looking at that, you're looking at Buttler and you're thinking, I'm going to back myself to hit a ball that's full or short. But is there one ball that perhaps is harder once you're there, and did RCB bowl that ball?
When somebody like Butler is going, it's difficult. The margin for error is very, very slim. What they probably could have done is just make sure that there was not one ball that he can think was coming. Sometimes, and I've had to do it to someone like Russell. If Russell, Pollard, Butler, we're talking about guys at the top of the game that can take you down. If they have an inkling of what you'd bowl, let's say 1 or 2 deliveries, then your margin for error is small, especially if they're in. So something like going around the wicket for 1 delivery, trying to hit the heel with 4 men back on the leg side and long off, or 3rd man as your 5th man on the boundary, force Butler to think, what's next, what's coming. That might get you 1 or 2 balls. He might think of playing a reverse paddle or a paddle sweep, scoop, whatever. And you get 2 balls into the over, maybe get him off strike, you break his momentum. But if you just run in and bowl stock standard length or Yorker and you miss, you will go the distance as they have.
Ravi, anything to extend on that in terms of assessing RCB's bowling as well? Did they not do a lot wrong, those two?
They didn't do a lot wrong. It was just the brilliance of Buttler and the fact that he waited that long, to even, waited till that last 2 overs to get it past that 150, 160 with some mighty striking.
Now, Buttler said over there as well, I don't know how much of that was the due in the last 2. We're keeping an eye on the watch. What do you think? How big a role will it play?
Power play. I think first 6 overs, Rajasthan will go for wickets. They've got Bolt. He'll keep it up there. He'll look to swing it into the pads. He'll look for some leg before wickets, and he will look to take wickets. And you've got Prasidh Krishna there. This pitch might suit him as well because it's too paced. If it kicks off the seam a little bit, he comes into play big time. There's also Saini who's got pace.
Yeah.
Then they've got the 2 spinners, so they've got the ammunition to defend this score.
Are the seamers the bigger threat here? More than Chahal and Ashwin?
I think all their bowlers will come into play. I think all their bowlers have a chance to take wickets on this track.
This is the kind of team where you'd want a Faf du Plessis, Virat Kohli to earn their test skills.
Big
perhaps.
Boys, will have to come up. Even if it was a struggle for Buttler, it'll be a struggle for them as well at different stages in the innings.
Strong bowling attack, Carlos. At the same time, 2 quality all-format players, Faf du Plessis, Virat Kohli. How are we seeing this game going?
It can be interesting to see how they use the spinners, because I think in preparation for the due, they want to get Chahal bowling as early as possible. So is that the power play, or will that be 7, 9, 11, and maybe holding back for 1 at the tail, low order to tail? Then Ashwin probably has a bit more control being a finger spinner. But I think the three pacers will go well. They all offer a little bit of extra zip, which the Jew would help. So it's important that the lengths that they don't bowl driving length or balls that would sit in the wicket and be able to be pulled in front of square. They're looking to hit that test length, just back over test length, allow the ball to skid through, especially with Saini's pace and how he rushes the batter. It's important that they go well. But I think the challenge for Sanju is how and when he uses his spinners.
All right, give me a prediction then, Carlos. Where do you see this going? Rajasthan or Bangalore?
Rajasthan. So was there at the
Ravi?
beginning, there to the end.
All right.
I like the runs on the board. Always prefer runs on the board.
Fantastic. So we're backing Rajasthan Royals as far as Ravi Shastri and Carlos Brathwaite are concerned to defend this and make it 3 out of 3. Will either Faf or Virat Kohli spoil that party or someone else from RCB? We'll find out. Should make for a compelling conversation at the end of the game. Join us then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time, powered by IQ 95G.